to Learner's Planet, my dear children. Children, in the previous session we discussed about the Sun and some planets, the inner planets. So in today's session we will continue this lesson with more planets. We will study about more planets, and we will start this session with the first planet, Earth. Right. So what is actually Earth? Which type of planet it is? What kind of temperature is there on Earth? How much temperature is there on Earth? And which number of planet it is from the Sun in the solar system? Right. So it is actually the third planet from the Sun, present in between Venus and Mars. It is a mid-sized planet. That means it is larger than Pluto, Mercury, Venus and Mars, and smaller than Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. So it is not smaller as Pluto, Mercury, Venus and Mars, and it is not larger as Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, and that is why it is termed as a mid-sized planet. So Earth has one moon, which is approximately 1/4 the size of the planet itself. As we know, students, that Moon is the natural satellite of the Earth, and it is approximately 1/4 the size of the planet itself. So we can say that Earth is a mid-sized planet, but Moon, which is the natural satellite of the Earth, is actually smaller than the Earth. So let us see one of the image of Earth. How does it look? Yes, when viewed from the space, it actually looks as blue and white planet. This is just an imaginary image. This is just an imaginary picture. This is the image to show you that the blue color indicates, or the blue color shows that it is covered, our Earth is covered with oceans. Our Earth is covered with water, mainly oceans, lakes, seas, rivers, all such water bodies, and the rest of the green portion shows that it is covered with land surface. That means we can say that 70% of our Earth is covered with water and 30% of our Earth is covered with land. So actually the composition of our Earth is very unique. A solid iron core is present in the center of the Earth, which creates a magnetic field surrounded by the mantle, a thick layer of molten rock. Try to recall, children, try to recall the layers, the 4 distinct layers of the Earth, which comprises of the core, mainly the outer core, the inner core, then the mantle, and the outermost one, what it is called as? It is called as the crust, right? So the composition of our planet is actually a solid iron core which is present in the center, and it creates a magnetic field. And on the top of the mantle is a thin layer which includes the oceans and the continent. And that is why we can say that it looks like a blue and white planet. Now, let us study more about our Earth. Yes, if we see that Earth is actually not fully round, as it is flatter at the poles and the bulges, and it bulges at the equator. And that is why we say the orbit of the Earth is not a perfect circle, but it is elliptical. It is a unique planet as it is the only known planet where life exists, and about 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, and the temperature is moderate enough to support life. Now what is the difference between Earth and other planets which makes so different, or which makes so much difference in the life forms, in the survival of the living organisms? Yes, life exists on Earth. Why it is called as that Earth has only life? There is only life on this planet, because on other planet there are many gases, harmful gases present, like carbon dioxide. Highest amount of carbon dioxide is present. And as you know that we the human beings, or most of the living beings or living organisms, cannot survive without oxygen, and they cannot survive in high amount of carbon dioxide atmosphere. So this is the main difference, that because of the amount of oxygen which is present on the Earth's surface and rest of the atmosphere which does not contain so much of carbon dioxide, as we know that on Earth's surface there is only 0.03%, about 0.03% of carbon dioxide present. 78% of nitrogen is present and 21% of oxygen is present, right? So because of these constituents of air which makes up the atmosphere of the Earth, and the ozone layer which is present to protect us from the ultraviolet rays of the sun. So these are all such characteristics because of which life exists on the earth and not on other planets, right? So this is what makes the earth's temperature moderate, which is enough to support life of the living organisms. Alright, so the next point is that moon is the earth's only natural satellite. As we discussed, moon acts as a satellite. In the same way, for other planets also, there are many moons. Some planets does not have any moon, and some planets have many moons, even more than 20, even more than 30 or 40, right? So these moons actually act as a satellite. So this is the natural satellite. Moon is the natural satellite of the earth. Now you will be very amazed to know that the smallest distance between earth and the sun is a little more than 91 million miles, and the farthest distance is slightly under 94 million miles. And viewed from space, water and clouds cause our earth to appear blue with the white swirls, and that is why we say that it is the only planet which appears to be very beautiful, which appears to be blue with the white swirl, and it has liquid water on its surface. No other planet has liquid water on its surface. Our earth, our home planet, is a beautiful blue and white ball when seen from space. The third planet from the sun, which is the largest of all the inner planets. So earth is considered to be the inner planet, and it is one of the largest of all the inner planets. Earth is the only planet which is known to support life and to have liquid water at the surface. Earth has a substantial atmosphere and magnetic field, both of which are very critical for sustaining life on the earth. And earth is the innermost planet in the solar system with a natural satellite. So how amazing it is, how amazing this planet is on which we live, right? So this was all about our earth, our home planet. Now let us move on to other planet and let us know about other planets. Yes, other planet which we are going to study in today's session is Mars. Children, Mars is the fourth planet in the solar system present in between Earth and Jupiter. It is known as the red planet due to its red color. And why this red color appears on this planet? Why it is present on this planet? Because this color is the result of a layer of the rusted iron dust which is present on the planet, which makes the planet red in color, and that is why it is known as red planet. So always remember that it is all because of the one thing which is present, that is the rusted iron dust, because of which it makes it red in color. Mars is about half the size of the Earth, so you can just imagine that how small it is. Now see the picture of the Mars, how it appears. It appears red in color. Yes, it appears red in color. You will be very amazed to know that the distance between the Mars and the Sun is much greater than the Earth. Even then, the Mars is smaller in size than the Earth, but the distance between the Mars and the Sun is greater than the Earth's distance. If we observe, or the scientists which have predicted, they haven't predicted but they have studied and found out that at its closest, the distance between the Mars and the Sun is 128 million miles, and at its farthest, the distance between the Mars and the Sun is 154 million miles. So due to this distance, a Martian year, why it is called a Martian year? Because it is the year which is actually existing on Mars planet. So a Martian year lasts for 687 Earth days, and the Martian day is similar to an Earth day, that is just lasting just over 24 hours. Like on our Earth, one day means 24 hours. In the same way, for Mars also, it is for one day, it is just 24 hours. Like Earth, Mars has also moons, but the difference is that our Earth has one natural satellite called as moon, but Mars has two moons, popularly called as Phobos and Deimos. These are two of the moons which are the smallest of all in the solar system, and actually they are the asteroids that once came close enough to Mars to be captured by the planet's gravity and have been encircling it ever since. So how do they become moon? They were asteroids once, and then when they came close to this planet, because of the gravity of the Mars, they were pulled. These asteroids were pulled by the gravity, and that is why they started encircling the Mars surface or the Mars planet, and that is why they become the moon, the smallest moons in the solar system. So Mars has actually a central core which is made up of iron surrounded by a thick layer of rock. A very thin layer of air covers Mars. So this atmosphere is actually thinner than the Earth's surface. So let us see more information and let us study more about Mars. Yes, as we discussed that a very thin layer of air covers the planet, and this atmosphere is actually thinner than the Earth's atmosphere. But because of this thin atmosphere, it causes Mars to have weather including clouds and dust storms. As we discussed, children, that wherever there is atmosphere, even 1% atmosphere is there on the planet, of any of the planet, it causes weathering, right? So as the same way, like our Earth is surrounded by a blanket of air, blanket of a layer called as atmosphere, in the same way there is some atmosphere on the Mars which causes weather including clouds and dust storms. Besides this, its atmosphere has a lot of carbon dioxide and a small amount of oxygen and water vapor. That is why some of the life forms that can exist in less amount of oxygen can survive on this planet. So there are many researches going on for the Mars planet where there is small amount of oxygen and the life forms which are present over there. But it has not been concluded yet. So Mars, which is our Earth's outer neighbor, is the fourth planet from the Sun, and Mars' bright appearance and reddish color stands out in the night sky, and the impressive surface features such as enormous volcanoes and valleys are frequently obscured by the huge dust storms. So this is about our Mars. There are some other facts about Mars. So let us have a look at some of the facts about Mars. Yes, evidence suggests that on Mars' surface there were rivers, streams, lakes and even an ocean just like our Earth. As Mars' atmosphere so slowly depleted into an outer space, the surface water began to evaporate permanently, and that is why now it is impossible to stay over there. And now it is impossible that rivers, streams or lakes or any ocean to be present on the Mars surface. Now it is impossible to be there because the atmosphere which was present millions and billions of years ago has now slowly depleted into an outer space, because of which the surface water began to evaporate permanently. So today the only water on Mars is either in the frozen state in the polar caps or it is present underground. So this is what the fact is about Mars, right? So this was all about Mars. Now there is one more thing, that in a lot of ways Mars looks like a lot like our home, like our planet, like our Earth, though instead of the blue oceans and the green land, Mars is a home to an ever-present red tint which is present on the surface of the Mars. This is all due to a mineral called as iron oxide that is very common to on a planet's surface. Right, so whenever we look past the surface differences, these two planets, the Earth and the Mars, are similar in some ways, but not in all ways. Right, so this was all about Mars. Now let us move on to other planet, which is Jupiter. Yes, so we studied all about the inner planets. Now let us study about some different kind of planets like our Jupiter. As you know, children, that Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system, and it is so enormous that about 1300 Earths could fit inside the planet. So you can just imagine, children, that how huge it is, that about 1300 Earths could fit inside the planet, right? So do not just think that these much Earths fit inside the planet. It is not possible. This is just imaginary, just to say that Jupiter is so large. So Jupiter is actually a gas planet, which means that it is a gas giant mainly composed of hydrogen and helium gas, which are held together by the gravity, right? Try to recall where else we studied about hydrogen and helium. Yes, we studied about these gases which are present on the sun, or we can say rather in the sun, right? Helium is present at the center of the sun and hydrogen is surrounding it. Hydrogen is present in its surrounding, where this process of conversion of hydrogen into helium constantly takes place in the sun. Right? So in the same way, Jupiter is also a gas planet. Sun is a star, but Jupiter is a planet, which means it is also a giant cloud, but it is mainly composed of hydrogen and helium. So we can say that this name, Jupiter, was named after the most powerful Roman god due to its enormous size. Jupiter means large. So actually Jupiter rotates very fast. Let us see one image or one picture of a Jupiter. Yes, this is the Jupiter. Right, so Jupiter actually rotates very fast. A day lasts just 9 hours and 55 minutes. So as compared to our Earth, which takes 24 hours to complete one day. In the same way, as compared to the Earth, Mars for completing its day, Jupiter for completing its day, it just takes 9 hours and 55 minutes. So at an average distance of about 470 million miles from the Sun, a year lasts a relatively long as 12 Earth years. So this is so amazing about Jupiter. Let us study more about Jupiter. Yes, because Jupiter is a gas planet, it has no real surface. Right, because it is a gas, it is composed of gas, it has no rocks or no rocky surface. So the swirling gas clouds create a sort of weather that includes storms. And the most well known of these storms is the great red spot, which is visible in the photographs of the Jupiter. So actually there are satellites also which are present. This planet has 47 satellites, and the two largest of which are both larger than Pluto and Mercury. So just imagine that how enormous or how huge these satellites are. And there are 4 largest moons which has thousands of craters, which has active volcanoes, and that is why it is considered as a giant ice ball, because Jupiter is a gas planet. So actually Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system, and when approached from afar, its fantastically striped atmosphere gradually reveals intriguing clouds that move around the Jupiter. So it is actually rich in historical and cultural connections, and Jupiter is the site of recent comet impacts and continuing scientific discovery. So we can just say that it is a stormy planet because it creates a sort of weather that includes storms, and there are storms which are found throughout the atmosphere, and most of the storms seem to never end, and the many different cloud formations and the storms in the atmosphere also make Jupiter a very colorful planet. So we can just say that because of this stormy planet, the well known of these storms is the Great Red Spot. It is where a giant storm has been raging for at least 300 years, and this red spot is also called as the Eye of Jupiter because of its shape, and it is actually visible when viewed from telescope or even viewed from the space. And this storm's super hurricane winds blow across an area which is larger than the Earth. So you can just imagine how amazing it is, right? So it is sometimes visible, sometimes it is not visible. So it all just depends upon the weathering which takes place. Besides these, it has largest number of satellites, which is more than 60 in number, and it takes about 12 Earth years to orbit the Sun. Jupiter is considered as a gas giant because it does not have a solid surface. Under its atmosphere is a large liquid ocean of hydrogen and water. So what actually lies between that ocean and the atmosphere in the Jupiter? Actually there is nothing in between them, nothing in between the ocean and the atmosphere, because the atmosphere slowly gets thicker and thicker until it becomes the part of the ocean. In other words, we can say that Jupiter's ocean has no surface on which even we could float a boat, because the sky also there becomes the ocean, right? So always remember that it is a gas planet, it is a stormy planet, and it has no surface, and even the sky becomes the ocean over there. Such type of atmosphere is actually present on the surface of the Jupiter. So this was all about Jupiter. In the next session, we will continue this lesson knowing and discussing about more planets. I hope you enjoyed today's session. knowing about Earth, Mars and Jupiter, right? So if you are very much interested, you can view it from the telescope. So we'll meet in the next session, children. Till then, keep learning, keep enjoying. Thank you.